All right. Welcome everyone to the Serious Angler podcast, where, as always, our main course for you will be talking and hopefully teaching more about bass fishing. And of course, that does not come without a distraction or 10 here or there. If you guys are looking for some bass and banter or just to learn more about bass fishing, you guys are in the right spot. As always, I'm your host, Bailey Eichbrett. And unfortunately, we are deaconless and captainless on today's episode. We're actually running this one pretty late night episode here for us, at least recording wise. And we have a special one for you guys in this episode. He's one of the OGs of bass and YouTube, one of the biggest fishing content creators, YouTubers, however you want to bucket that nowadays in fishing and slash bass fishing. And he's one hell of a dude. And that is Mr. John B. If you don't know John B, then you probably never gone on YouTube and typed in fishing before, because guarantee you some of his videos will pop up. And one of the best, in my mind, storytellers in the fishing content space. And he's kind of stayed true to who he was since the start. Obviously, there's the Guggen Squad stuff, but he's always been so passionate about the fishing side and have been excited. It's been long in the works, but so excited to get him on this show to talk with him and obviously share some stories and some learnings with you guys as well. But we'll get him on here in a second. A couple things we wanted to go over with you guys, and we'll have some deeper conversations with Deacon and Andy when they get on in next week's show for Business from the Bass Boat, which is always presented by the fine folks over at Rec Lending. If you guys are like me, hint, hint, looking at a boat, looking to get into a boat, not ditching the kayak side. Kayak side is always going to be numero uno for me, but I do want to get a boat because the wife wants to go fishing. Friends want to go fishing. If you're like me, and you want to make that process easier, call the folks at Rec Lending. If you have a boat you're interested in, they'll get you basically all up with to actually pulling your credit, things like that, getting you an idea of what it's going to cost, things you need to have prepared. They just make that investment so much easier in regards to the not investment, but the preparation before you go in and make that investment. So give them a call, even if you're thinking about getting a boat, or if you currently have a boat and you want to be able to better afford and manage that boat. So give the fine folks at Rec Lending a call. And on today's Business from the Bass Boat, a couple things that have stood out for me that I want to talk about on here is one of the things from iCast was the Jet Drive kayak. And they ended up winning Best of Show for it's basically a kayak with a jet drive installed in the bottom. And that is one I'm very curious about. For whatever reason, is catching some flack amongst some kayak anglers. I've seen in some comment sections um, with content on this kayak, and I've talked to a few folks that will likely be getting their hands on it, and they're very optimistic. Where to test it out, try different things, very positive. But I've seen some folks that are already doubting and being skeptical of the kayak before they've even tried it. And I'm just using this example of all of fishing, not just this kayak in particular. And for folks that are wondering what I'm talking about, it's the Flux Jet. I wanted to make sure I got the name right here when we're talking about, but this jet drive kayak. Um, Here's my thing: whether it's a bait, a kayak, things like that, there's no there's you can. It's best to go and ask questions, and then if you want to be negative or positive about it, make sure you do that after you either see it in use or have used it yourself. More so if you've used it yourself, but especially have seen some kayak folks that are prevalent in the kayak space, name wise, that are already hating on this thing, doubting it, being skeptical before they've even been in it. And in a industry specific to kayak where there's not a lot of innovation being done, there's a lot of innovation being done to the gadget side in regards to like rigging the kayak, technology on the kayak, et cetera, et cetera. There's not been a lot of innovation of the kayak itself. And we finally get some innovation of the kayak itself, putting a jet drive in it, which is great. You know, and I in theoretics talking about these creek and river guys, um, and they go to crapping on it. So my message to you guys is do better. Don't be so skeptical. I mean, it's okay to be skeptical. I'm a naturally skeptical human being, but I try to do a better job of I can be skeptical, but I'm not going to voice a negative opinion I'm going to be optimistic until I've used it, or I've had a credible source whom I trust that has used it, and they've formed an opinion on it. So that being said, that goes for a lot of things. Every year in ICAST, when you see launches like that, don't jump the gun on being negative. And the same could be going for being positive. Like this thing could be pretty badass, and it's better to be that, right? But you never know; it could look pretty sick and actually suck. But at the end of the day, it goes back to the old cliche saying, "Don't judge a book by its cover." Get in that sucker, see if it works. But and really intrigued by the Flux Jet, and they won Best of Show. So congrats to those guys that are new to the space, and they're doing something new to the kayak fishing space, which we need badly. We needed more innovation on the kayak itself because we still have some of the quote unquote Cadillac kayaks that $5,000-$6,000 that break and leak out the gate, and that's just not acceptable in my opinion. But another one I was looking at was it's a new AI app called Angler, AINGLER, and basically it's kind of like similar to Fishing Chaos and Tourney X, and essentially uses all AI to run tournaments, whether that's kayak, bank fishing, etc. It doesn't matter what your platform is. Put the board on there, take a picture. AI submits. It already knows what the species is, and it's pretty deadly accurate to the quarter of an inch how long your fish is. So pretty dang cool. They're even giving away a freaking Tesla truck at ICAST. Well, not at ICAST. I think they're giving away after ICAST. Regardless, pretty interesting stuff in that regard. But some pretty cool stuff that was released, and obviously we will be talking further with the guys on the next week's episode. But the last thing I have for you is the Bassmaster Elite Series 2026 schedule was just released today. Well, I say today. It's a week before this episode's dropped, so apologies. But the schedule is as follows. In February 5th to 8th, they're going to go to Lake Gunnersville. February 12th to 15th, they're going to Lake Martin. March 13th to 15th, that's the Bassmaster Classic in Knoxville, Tennessee. Not the greatest fishery, but I absolutely freaking love Knoxville. It's a hell of a time for a classic. I will always be in support of a Knoxville Classic just because Knoxville is a fun freaking city to be in. You'll never hear me say that about any other cities either. I hate cities. I love Knoxville. March 26th, 29th, they're going to be on Tombigbee Waterway. So nice little change up there. Also, the Alabama swing to start the season is interesting. I know Major League Fishing did that as well this year. Well, for 2026. But I'm intrigued by that. I like it. April 16th to 19th, Arkansas River. May 7th to 10th, Lake Murray. May 14th to 17th at Santee Cooper. So back-to-backs for those guys there. June 11th to 14th, they're sticking around the Carolinas for May to June. Back to the Pasquotank River and the Albemarle Sound. So that showed out obviously this past year. It'll be interesting to see what that's like in early or mid-June. And then to end the season, both tournaments in August, they are going up to New York. They're going to be in Lake Champlain and St. Lawrence River to end the season. So the two things that scream out to me is one, awesome diversity of schedule. Very diverse from, you have the Gunnersville, Lake Martin, those are diverse in themselves, but then you have Tombigbee, Arkansas River, and the Pasquotank, intertwined obviously with the Murray being a herring lake, and then Santee Cooper being a shallow cypress tree. Even Pasquotank and Tombigbee are different in their own right. Then you got smallmouth fisheries at the end of the season. So very diverse. Love that fact about this schedule. The one thing I don't like about it is it just seems like they combined an elite schedule with an open schedule. Now, is it fresh? Yes. Do like it? Would I love to see new locations like the BPT's been doing? Yes, we'll absolutely love that. Same reason why last year when they announced the Pasquotank for the 2025 schedule, people were pretty hyped about that because it's a brand new location to the elites. But otherwise, a great schedule. Looking forward to keeping up and watching, doing fantasy fishing shows for that next year. And as always, guys, make sure you guys are going to Omnia Fishing, seeing what new arrivals are there, especially with ICAST. All the new releases will be hitting the new arrivals section on Omnia Fishing. You guys can use, as always, code Series 10 to save some money, as well as save $20 off at Hobie Eyewear using code Series Angler. All the links and everything to save down below are always in the show notes, whether you're listening or watching. But without further ado, let's get into our episode with Mr. John B.
Do I need to do anything on my end?
No, you're good, bro.
Okay, cool.
You're good. You still got me okay, though?
Yeah.
Perfect. Sometimes that record button likes to just throw everything out of whack.
Technology, baby. I know it all too well.
Yeah, no, can't preach to the choir.
Yeah.
But perfect, dude. If you're good, we'll just let it rip.
Let's roll.
All right, folks. We're here with the man himself, Mr. John B, one of the OGs of YouTube. What's going on, brother?
What's cranking, brother? Not much back home in Texas right now. Enjoying the 20-mile-per-hour winds and 100-degree heat. All I can describe is every time I walk outside, it feels like I'm getting hit with a hair dryer. It's miserable. I don't know how guys fish down here full time in the summer, but usually this time of year I'm up in Maine enjoying the cool breeze, maybe doing some saltwater fishing. But I'm stuck in Texas at the moment, so I'm kind of envious with you being up north right now, enjoying some brown bass, I presume some green bass too. But yeah, dude, laying low at the moment. About to get back into filming here in the next couple of days, but just chilling with the family for the most part.
Yeah, you guys all good with the whole Texas flood situation? Are you guys in the clear of
Yes.
all that? Okay.
Yes, very, very fortunately, we are good. But I followed it pretty diligently when it was going on, and I mean, words cannot like describe how catastrophic that was. I mean, it kind of like as far as a Texan, like I feel like a lot of like a very tight knit community, no matter where you're at. I mean, this happened probably 4 hours away from where I live in North Texas, but you hear about it real quick just through other people who have friends and family down there. And at first, it was kind of like big flood, some damage, and then you started hearing about um, you know, unfortunately, it taking some lives, and then that death toll going
Yeah.
up. I think it eventually landed to over 100 individuals.
Damn.
And yeah, that part of Texas has just not seen any rain. And we had actually just filmed in that region in Canyon Lake, and we did a whole kind of like documentary style video
Mhm.
talking about the lake and how that people were so bummed about there just not being any water for almost. I think they were like on a slight like 3 or 4 year drought. And the lake was down 41%. And I know, you're from the north. I'm also from the north.
Yeah.
We don't hear about that, like lakes
No.
being down. Like you might get a lake fluctuation, but it's going to be like an inch or a foot, nothing
Yeah.
crazy.
At
But here in
most.
Texas, you get lakes that, I mean, flat out go dry. I mean, I can count right now like 5 lakes on my hand that are in Texas that were at least once good fishing lakes that are fully dry, and actually are now probably full due to the flooding. So we were down there filming in Canyon Lake, and we're like, we're praying for rain, and we're like praying that these people get rain because all the boat ramps were closed. People live on this lake, and they this is their home, this is their ecosystem. And then that happened, and it was just like, of course, like they needed rain, but not that much, of
Yeah.
course, and it is so unfortunate. I hate to say there. I mean, there hardly is any silver lining, but I guess like if you wanted to think in that perspective, what is good is it is going to bring a lot of life back into some of those lakes. Not that that's important at all, but it does. It
Right.
is. They did need rain, just not that much,
Yeah.
especially all at once. Like, oh my god.
Yeah. It's all the rain they should have gotten, periodically over time just all came at once pretty much. And that's
Exactly. And we've had a pretty wet season up here in North Texas. I got a pond. I'm actually looking at it right now in the backyard, and it's usually pretty damn low by now, but we've had so much rain where uh, it's still got tons of bass in it, and things are looking decent up here. It's a nice consistent rain this year.
That's good. That's good. I saw some crazy picture. I don't know if you've seen this one where it's the guy that's like 6 foot tall that was standing in where the flood had come through, and it showed where the flood level was, and it was like
Yeah.
unbelievably high. Like it was I'll have to see if I can find the post and link it to this episode, but it blew your mind just how high and how much
Dude.
water had actually come through.
I don't yeah, I think even some of the people down there like are still trying to wrap their heads around it. Like, dude, I saw some like time lapses, and it looks we're in an age now where like you see a lot of like AI slop, so it's like hard to
Yeah,
believe like what you're seeing sometimes. But
right.
these were legitimate videos, obviously, but it did look like it was something that was it was fake and it was real. It was I think it was the Llano River that took on a bunch of water. Obviously, the Guadalupe was the biggest factor in all that.
Yeah.
And dude, what's even more insane is what that river looked like before. I mean, I'm talking about a trickle, nothing. Um,
Oh,
yeah, it sucks. It's a really unfortunate situation.
yeah. Damn. Well, glad everything's good on that front. We'll
Yeah, yeah.
transition to a more positive note and
Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a
oh no,
tangent there.
you're
It is
good, man.
interesting though.
It really is, and it's one like Stephen Barton, who we do the real biology segment with, and he's down in Texas. He's a fisheries biologist, and I'm sure this is going to come up. We actually have It's called the Black Bass Symposium. Apparently, it's only happened every 25 years, where all the meeting of the minds of the fisheries biologists get together.
Hmm.
And they're doing that in 2 weeks. I'm flying down to San Antonio to do podcast and media at this thing, but
Oh, cool, dude.
I'm sure that's going to be the top. One of the topics of conversation is that flood specifically and things like that, and especially probably the one back in the Carolinas too, because that's like you got to create a whole new map for the West North Carolina and Northeast Tennessee and things like
Yeah,
that. They're still
I
getting
mean
all that.
that moved land masses. I mean that I saw some content of that recently, and it's like I guess I'm a little ignorant to it, but like it seems very interesting. I think a lot of it, they got a ton of precipitation, but a lot of lakes lost water because like
Mhm.
dams are breaking. I think so. Like everything's
Yeah,
really low down there, whereas like the water seemed to come up in the like in South Texas or South Central
yeah,
Texas. But I'm interested to see what some of those biologists say because like I've heard stories like, especially coming into Texas, like roughly right around after this happened, but like lakes like Amistad and Falcon fished really, really good after extreme wet periods,
mm,
and those lakes right now are hurting due to many factors, laundry list, one of which
yeah,
the main one being drought and agriculture. Um, Mexico pulls a lot of water out of there for crops. And you know, I'm curious if that's ever going to hit that section of like Texas again, and if it does, a lot of people presume it's going to make for incredible fishing. When essentially
yeah,
everything that's dry and where there's trees now, is
uh-huh,
going to get flooded, and I mean it would be interesting to see a
yeah,
safe big rain or like a safe hurricane system hit something like that, and what it
yeah.
does for the next like maybe like 8 years. I think it was about how long it took for
I'm gonna
Falcon and
bring that
Amistad to get
question to
up.
Barden because I'm gonna imagine that's just because it creates something that's so nutrient dense that it's basically just a
Yes.
big buffet for all species up the chain. But
Yep.
that's a good topic we'll bring to real biology, and I'll put Steve on the podium and ask him
Yeah.
about all
Yeah.
that stuff. That'd be sick, dude. Um, yeah, and thankfully that's nothing that we have to deal with up here in the north, which is
Just you guys just get
yeah,
tons of snow. That's
it's
that's
about
just the
it.
best.
It's about as
Yeah.
worse as we get. Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we keep talking about potentially leaving the state and like moving to South Carolina and stuff like that. But then we'll sit there and days are like, yeah, we can't stand the state, or our wallets are getting drained. But then we're like, but then again, others trying to kill us up here. So like,
No, no, you don't have to shovel
yeah,
off the driveway just to leave your house and, go to the grocery store. That's something I don't miss about living in Illinois is just warming up the car.
yeah,
That
yeah,
sucked, bro.
yeah, that's for dang sure. Well, dude, speaking of that, throwing it back a little bit, obviously you're one of the YouTube OGs. And you're still obviously running hot with the content. You've been doing a pretty cool series of throwing a dart at a board and just basically just going and trying to find fish wherever that dart lands. But doing it this long, dude, what would you say is one thing you might be most grateful for? And then one thing you might change, if any, you might
Yeah.
change about your path to where you're at today.
I think start off with one of the things I'm most grateful for. One of the most grateful elements that I have is people are still willing to watch the videos after this long. I've had obviously a lot of subscribers who have just grown up, gotten older, don't watch the channel. Like like it's funny. I run into people every now and then at the lake or like at a tackle store, and like the one thing I get a lot is like, oh man, I used to watch your videos, and I'm like, not
Used to.
anymore. Yeah. So it's like I started hearing that a lot, and I was like, all right, I guess I took that, and I'm like, what could I do differently? But in whole, I'm very glad that there's still a good chunk of the audience that are not only like sticking with it, but new folks that are also willing to keep watching too. So like having an audience that just has stuck around, even if it is like 10% of my original subscriber base, that's the one thing I'm most thankful for. And then kind of bleeding into the point that I just talked about as far as people saying, you know, um, they used to watch the videos is like one thing that I think maybe I could change, or maybe I'm starting to change, is just trying to stay on my toes and not get super comfortable, because for the longest time, you know, iron was hot and I was just kind of, for lack of better terms, I could kind of just post whatever. I mean, that's really what it was. Like I could go out
Mhm.
and just maybe hit a pond, dick around, mess around, catch
Yeah.
some fish, like especially back in the Guggen days, like team up with Perrick, and Perrick and I would just do some stupid shit, and then we might catch a fish, we might not, and people were still willing to watch it. But now that's just not the case. I think a lot of factors play into that. There's a lot of people that are doing it. A lot of people are doing it better, and there's just there's the pool of fishing YouTube anglers and content creators is massive now. So the audience has a lot of places to go. So, for me, like the one thing I've started to change is just trying to think of different ideas. And like the dart idea, that was something that I just um, not didn't necessarily dread for the longest time, but I just was so hesitant to pull the trigger. So like that's
Yeah.
one thing I need to do better is just being like, okay, I've had this idea on my list, my bulletin forever. Like, let's cross it off. Let's just do it. And so many times I think I got weary of doing that and those videos maybe not succeeding to what I believe to be the fullest potential that I just kind of slowed down and stopped doing it. So I stopped taking risks at a certain point. And as you get older and you have kids and stuff like that, um, taking risks become a little bit more daunting. But ultimately, it's like you do have to do that. If you want to,
Yeah.
I guess, provide for the people that are around you, and then also provide for yourself. So taking risk is like it's like something you should really never stop doing, even if it's something as small as like a new video idea. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think those to answer your question, I think those are the two biggest things for sure.
Yeah. Dude, what what was the conversation like when you told your wife, you're like, yeah, so the dart landed here. This is where I gotta go now.
She loves it. She's super cool about it. We kind of structured the video idea to make it interesting, but also something where I could be home kind of quick. It wasn't like I was going to be gone for a
Yeah.
week. So she was really cool. So like basically, I I, I go live on this to show people that it's completely genuine. I try to make all the videos as genuine as possible. So after I throw the dart, Caleb, who's filming, who helps me out with filming, is my videographer. He comes over to the house and does it, and then he'll tell Kaylee. So they both know, they're both like giggling and shit like that. So I have no idea where I'm going, and she loves it though. She's cool with it, yeah. And I always try to bring back a souvenir. This last time we were in Philly, so I really didn't have anything to bring back other than uh, just the fact that I probably got spit on a couple times by people at the airport. I'm not a huge fan of Philly, to be honest, man. It was kind of hell. It sucked.
Dude,
But
that's it's funny because I'm a huge Eagles fan, but I am also
go
in
Birds,
the
baby.
yeah, go Birds, but also in the fact of like I've told my wife like, hey, I want to go watch an Eagles game at home, but then probably never go back. It's just for the mere fact, Philly is it's if you're from Philly, you love Philly. If you're outside of Philly, you're
Yes.
like Philly can have Philly. It's
Listen,
yeah,
yeah, I
it's like this.
understand the allure, I understand the culture, but maybe it's just living out in the country for this amount of time in Texas, where every time I go to places like Philly, I'm like, brother, get me out of here. And we got out there pretty quick. Went towards Harrisburg and Lancaster, and that was a little bit more slower pace, so I liked that a lot. And the fishing ended up being a little
Yeah,
bit better out there anyway. So, but
yeah.
yeah,
My wife and I are the same way. Where even like Buffalo's pretty, I guess, mellow in regards to
it
how a
is.
city is. You kind of look at it, but even that, we're like, we can't wait to we can't wait to have no neighbors. I think that's our
Yeah.
biggest thing is have some peace and quiet. But
I'll tell you
yeah,
what, it is nice. We've had no pretty much effectively no neighbors the past 4 years living on here, and it is solid because prior to that, I lived pretty much in just on the outskirts of Fort Worth, and that was one of the elements that I was like ready to get out of there because I had some weird neighbors for sure, and I was like, I don't think people were meant to live this close together. It just doesn't
yeah,
make sense.
yeah.
Uh,
That's funny.
but
Well, dude,
yeah,
it made me think of so we talk with a lot of pro anglers obviously on the show as well, and one thing that gets brought up a decent amount is the team you have with you, whether that's your wife, that's a parents, siblings, whomever that may be, friends that travel with you, and how like look at Apollonek, he's got a great team with him, a great wife that supports the
yeah,
mission from day one. I feel like that's important too. I guess for somebody like in your
bro.
position, it's a full time YouTuber. I feel like it's almost wilder though, because you ever you just throw these random ideas at her. You never know what she's probably never knows
Man,
what she's gonna get from you.
yeah, sometimes, and I've tried to get better about saying these things in advance because it got to there was be times where I'd be like, "Hey, I'm gonna go do this tomorrow," and you rightfully so. My wife Kaylee would be like, "What?" And you're driving 4 hours. What? Always okay with it. Always cool with it. Very supportive. But actually, I look at a lot of what these guys on the tour do, and I can't. There's no way. There was a period of time where I thought about doing the opens. It was like maybe 2 years ago, and I'm
No
just
doubt.
running through this logistically in my head, and I'm like, first of all, I'm not a very competitive angler. I think it would be fun to do it from a content perspective, but second of all, like I'm dedicating a lot of hours, probably, and this is just me being on the other side as far as content goes, and knowing a little bit about what these tournament guys go through, I probably would be spending more time away hours wise trying to compete and traveling and mixed with practice and all that than if I were to be doing YouTube because I have a little bit more control over my schedule as a YouTuber. So I very much commend the guys that are taking on that like that risk, and it is ultimately a risk
Yeah.
to go compete up against hundreds of other the best anglers in the world. We're not even talking about like just the U.S. Obviously, mostly U.S.
Yeah.
guys, but the world. I mean, really,
Yeah.
because bass fishing is most popular in the United States. But yeah, I see a lot of stories and of like Instagram stories of guys who travel and fish for a living, like from that regard, and I'm like, God bless them. That takes a lot of freaking work. So I definitely commend them on being able to balance that work and family life. I genuinely don't know how to do it. I say that all the time. Like,
Yeah.
Caleb and I will be talking, be like, how do these guys do that? When they've got not just wives but kids. So
Yeah.
God bless everyone in that situation. It's a lot of work.
It seems like these days the formula is either you're young and single, and that's all you can dedicate your time to, or you're
Yeah,
like a Polnick where the family comes with you and the family's
right.
on board with the mission.
The house is on the
And so
wheels.
exactly, which probably that I mean, we've seen anglers that struggle, because they leave their families at home, but then the next year's following, the family comes with and they do immediately better. And it goes to show you how, like you're saying, just being away from kids, wife, whomever it is, like can be extremely tough. And that goes the same
Totally.
thing for like if you're gonna go do a 2 week shoot in some other country.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's why I try to like, as much as I can when I get back from those trips, like it's downtime. Sometimes it's always not the case, but like, taking a little bit of
Mhm.
vacation, like doing whatever. But I mean, you and I both know like fishing and filming and then making that your job it's taxing on the mind. So
Mhm.
like, what you're saying, having your family come with you, it definitely alleviates a bit of that tax and bridges the gap a bit, and I could see that helping a lot probably if you can manage to do that, and if everyone's on board, because you're not going to fish good, you're not going to film good if you're not in the right headspace. And like right now, like my universe is my family, and then
Yeah.
it's work, and making sure all that meshes together in a nice flow state is the biggest. It's the biggest thing, and it's
Yeah.
tough. I'm still navigating it. I'm only 29. We just had our second girl, so there's so much
Congrats.
I'm still learning. Thanks, man. Yeah, I have so much
Mm.
I'm still learning. But I think the biggest thing is like just trying to figure out a system, and
Yeah.
that's tough. It's not easy. It takes years, and I'm still figuring it out.
Well, especially from the content side of things, because it can be so like spontaneous. Where at least like on the pro schedule, it's like you at least have dates that you're
Right.
gonna be busy or away. Where it can, the content side, things can just spring on you.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
content things can kind of spring, and especially like when you have like a that's like why I'm not able to really, and I know the pro anglers deal with this too, but like I can't really plan stuff like a week in advance because obviously weather. That's like the biggest curse of fishing anything tournament content is like you're relying on a living organism to basically make your day, and then on top of that, Mother Nature might just smite you down
Yeah.
on the one day that you've
Hold my
got
beer.
to film. Yeah, yeah, exactly, dude. And then at that point, it's like just stay inside and scrap it, have a beer, and just watch the weather go by. But
Yeah.
yeah, like because like filming wise too, like we can't do it in the foul weather; it just ruins gear. So that's like the biggest bummer. Sometimes we make it
Yeah.
work. Other times, most of the time we don't.
Yeah. Dude, you probably been asked this before, but 12-year-old you being able to see where you're at now, successful, a family, that seems that everything seems to be going well, like fishing for a living. What do you think 12-year-old you would say being able to see you now?
Man, dude, I think he'd be pretty stoked, but I think 12-year-old me was probably so stubborn to have a position like where I'm at now, where maybe they like 12-year-old me wouldn't be like super shocked. I think they'd obviously be jacked and like foaming at the bit. But I've just always wanted to do something in the fishing world, and like for a while, like when I went off to college, I kind of thought that maybe the YouTube thing wasn't really going to be a viable, or like any sort of content thing, whether it be tournaments or whatever, wasn't going to be viable. So like I settled for like the 100th best thing, and that was like to work in like as a fish man. I was like not a fish biologist, but I was going to school for fish management and aquaculture science. So I at least got to be around fish and be in the outdoors. So like
Yeah.
that was kind of the next thing that I was kind of going towards. And Yeah, that ultimately didn't work out, just mainly because, like, well, the one of the biggest things is, like, I had a professor kinda, like, pull me aside one day, and he was just like, "Just so you know, like, you might be miserable at this job. You know, like, I know you're enjoying this now, but, like, this pays worse than like, what you would imagine." And, it's long hours, long days, and I was like I kinda thought about that. I'm like, "If he's saying this and he's in this profession, then maybe I should reconsider." But I guess circle back. I think 12-year-old me would be pretty surprised, but at the same time, um, pretty pretty much pretty much content with where we landed.
Yeah,
I think that's the bit because I've always looked up to like dudes like Hank Parker, Bill Dance. That's kind of who I grew up watching.
yeah,
So I like wanted to do that. I was wanted to be more of an entertainer than someone who was trying to go out there and teach people how to fish.
yeah. Do you think your course would have been delayed or altered if that professor didn't give you that little piece of information?
Yeah, I think for sure that was one of the big moments, and then I think another big moment is when I was like it was my second year, and I was starting to kind of dip my toes in the whole back into the YouTube thing. I like sold all my fishing stuff right before I went to college. I had like a couple rods, and then I was posting videos, and I'd get like $500 from like a month's worth of work, quote unquote work, filming, working, but filming
Yeah,
and fishing. And I'd turn around and just spend it right back on fishing gear, or maybe I'd buy like an SD card or a camera. And so, this is kind of the time where I started to pick things back up my second year of college because starting to maybe think this wasn't for me, but I was going to try to see it through. And kind of a funny story, it's definitely not watching this, so I feel free to just, say how it is. But I had a roommate who was just absolutely up to no good. Like,
oh
would
boy.
bring a gun to school. He was from like inner city Columbus. Um, like
Oh lord.
overheard him and his buddies like talking about how they were gonna like smoke some kid for talking smack one day, and I'm like, Jesus. And the one
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know, I'm like, this is crazy. And then the one day I was like editing, trying to get some stuff done. I was like working on my video, and I felt like water hit my feet because my desk was like right next to the bathroom, shared bathroom, and I like turn around, there's just water like pooled up right at my desk station. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, this is crazy. So I go and walk into the bathroom, and it's just overflowing. And my roommate, because we were having dorm room checks that day, and my roommate
Yeah.
tried flushing like I don't know, 800 pills down the toilet, and it clogged the toilet. And I was so pissed off. I was furious. I'm like, this is it, man. Cause there was like some other stuff going on. I just like wasn't, I was like not enjoying my second year. And I called my parents that day, and I'm like, Dad, I'm sorry, but I'm out. We're not doing this thing. Like I was paying for my own tuition. So I felt like I was in that position. He's like, he was totally understanding. He was like, no worries. Came that next week, drove his car down. I had my old beater Highlander, Toyota Highlander there, and we just mobbed back to Illinois. And I stayed with them for about a year until I could really build up the YouTube channel, and it grew really fast in that year, like super fast. And I guess the rest just kind of played out from there. Yeah, but
Yeah.
funny
Would
story, I
you
suppose.
Yeah, dude, that's wild. Holy
Yeah,
smokes. I
yeah.
don't know what I would've done in that situation. Uh, Holy crap. Well, do you think that year that you said you blew up on that, do you think that was, like, the YouTube golden years for fishing?
Yeah, I think so. That would have been like 20. That was like 2020. Sorry, 2016 to 2019 were like some of the best years for YouTube, especially leaning more towards the beginning of the timeline 2016, 2017. Golden years for YouTube. I feel like a lot of people, and again, going back to the pool of anglers were a whole lot smaller back then. There was not that many. I could At the time I probably could have written you a list of like YouTubers that had over 100,000 subscribers who were posting consistently, if not almost daily, even outside of like our group, that being the Googans.
Yeah,
So it was a very small group of guys, and a lot of us would like talk and chat and communicate and bounce ideas. It was a fun community, and it still is
yeah,
today. But it was like a lot of fun because everyone kind of knew each other. It's like showing up to the same boat, like same group of guys at the boat ramp every morning. You shoot the breeze and talk, what the bite is. But in this case, you're talking about what videos are doing good, and what do you got going on next week? Oh, maybe I could afford a flight, come down, see a film, collaborate. So Yeah, back then it was less saturated. It was a golden years. Views were popping. I think too, it was an era of anglers who were, or people rather, who were showing interest in becoming anglers as well.
Mm.
I don't know. I just felt like a lot of people were really getting into fishing, especially now, still too. But that year, people were hungry to learn how to fish, or just wanted to see somebody fish, and then try to do that themselves.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing I still try to do this to this day, and trying to get back into that we were doing, especially back then, is we were showing everyone that anyone could do this, with just a camera, like a GoPro and
Yeah.
a rod and a reel. It's like, dude, this is like caveman stuff. Like the only thing we
Yeah.
had was like time. We had a lot of time, and we had a lot of energy back then. So I have lost
Yeah.
most of my time and energy now, so it becomes increasingly
Full circle.
difficult. Yeah, full circle, but yeah,
Well, we're gonna come back to that, but I think
sure,
that's the perfect time to ask this. And this is a little segment we do on every show called the Amped Outdoors Electric Take. And
nice.
so we asked this one. This is one where it's our bold question where we hope for a bold answer.
Okay,
And that is, what is your current take on the fishing industry? And if you had to change one thing about it, what would you change?
I love this question, um, and take my answer with a fine grain of salt. Uh, because even though I fish, I suppose for a living, I'm no shape or way a compass for where things should go. But my honest opinion in the fishing industry is, I definitely see a lot of hope. And not that the fishing industry is in despair, but I think that is something that I think all of us are feeling. Maybe the folks listening right now, maybe you especially, because you've got your finger on the pulse of where things
Mhm.
are going from across the board, tournament content, just your everyday angler. But I see hope. I think a lot of people are right now. The biggest topic is live scope. I know it's just the biggest, most over talked about thing, but the more and more I've just been like fishing, the less and less I want to or the more and more I want to disconnect from stuff like that.
Yeah.
And early on, it was something I was just so obsessed with. Like I think everyone was, especially early on, and still is to this day. And I don't hate it, nor do I like embrace it. But I do think that one thing reigns true, and that is that like there is just nothing more fun than just three guys in the boat. Um, you're doing everything you possibly can to connect with the outside. And I
Mhm.
felt like a lot of times when I'd go fishing, I would genuinely just stare at that graph just because I thought that I needed to catch like a big fish for a video, or just because it's clout. I mean, that's what every angler wants to do, is catch like the biggest fish.
Mhm.
Um, and so I'd say that first and foremost. But going back to the whole hope thing too, I think a lot of people are starting to kind of get more interested in fishing again. There might have been a bit of a lull after COVID. COVID was huge for anglers, like a lot of guys getting into it, and it maybe kind of slowed down a little bit. But I'm just seeing a lot more people getting interested, and especially younger folks too. Recently, I've like talked to like a lot of
Yeah.
younger guys on Instagram, or met them in person, like real young, like 13, 14. And those are the most important people in this industry. More important than the guys willing to shell out 80 grand for a bass boat, more important than professional guys, more important than people like myself. Like the younger people in this industry, without them, this does not grow. Period.
Mhm.
Um, and not that I have like any sort of like malice towards like some of the older, more stubborn folks, but like they don't really. I don't feel like those people are super pivotal to move the needle as far as the overall continuum of the sport. Sure, they're great for it and they're great for the industry, but like you know. And I'm going to be there one day, and I'll be no good too. When I get to that old crusty salty age, I'll be no good. But I just think people need to continue to try to get their sons and their daughters and their nieces and nephews into this thing. Otherwise it's dead in the water. But I'm seeing so many more young people now rather than years previously get into it. But I'm optimistic. I think it's really good.
Yeah.
Especially on the social media side too, because like Instagram connects people, like, and I think a lot of people make friends. Like I ask them, like, I see two guys like fishing, like, oh, how'd you guys meet up? It's like, oh, just through Instagram. Like I liked his photo, and we lived in the same city, so we decided to fish
Yeah.
together. And it's like, dude, I would have killed for that when I was 14. Killed
Dude,
for that, man.
that's the truth, and I have a really funny story on that one. So, Alex Road Fishing, one of my best friends, he's a YouTuber.
Yeah.
Met him obviously through Instagram, through social media, through YouTube. Ends up being the officiant of my wife and I's wedding.
Wow.
Uh,
That's
yeah,
nuts.
yeah, just full. It was like small world. We had somebody to do it, and then that
Wow.
fell through. And he was visiting fishing in the Finger Lakes, and he's like, "Oh well, I'm licensed." And I look at my wife. She's like, "Screw it. Let's just have this Tennessee
Wow.
redneck come up to New York and be the one that weds us." And he gets up and he's like, "So some people these days, they have dating apps, they have the internet, they talk online." And he goes, "And that's how Bailey and I met." He doesn't even talk when I. So it
Just
was,
leaving it open ended there, like, did you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah,
That's a perfect story for, like, what we're
yeah,
talking about. I mean, that's yeah, it's always good not to focus on the negative. There's always negatives to everything, but, like, the biggest positive for social media is you can make, like, lifelong relationships like that.
yeah.
And fishing is just kind of the starting vessel to that, and Instagram and YouTube is what bridges that gap. But that's crazy, dude. Have you made a
Yeah.
lot of other buddies, like, good friends too, just through not only fishing, but just doing what you do every day?
Yeah, I mean, some of my closest friends nowadays are people that I've met through fishing.
Wow.
Whether it's met in person from fishing, but or from social media, and they're also creators, whoever it may be. It's um, yeah, dude, it's all anglers. I mean, I don't talk to
Yep.
anybody from high school still. Like it's
Same. I'm
still have
right
some
there with you.
college buddies, but yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's all fish heads, man. And I love that about it, and I love your point on there from like the positivity standpoint. We try to preach this as much as possible. Like you can go in a comment section, and it doesn't even matter if it's fishing. You can be sports. It can be, I mean, good lord, if you get into politics, you'll see it in every comment section. But like you're gonna see negativity everywhere, but you can also choose to not see it. If you
True.
wake up and you choose to see positivity, you will find it everywhere, just the same as you'll find
Oh,
negativity.
yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
mindset.
100%. Yeah, I think if you're going yeah, like you said, if you're going to go seek out that, like, reasons to be discouraged about a certain thing, in this case, we'll talk about fishing, it's like, you could go find that. I mean, it's super easy, but it's pretty also obvious as to, like, who's saying stuff like that, and it's, like, usually folks that I mean, like, it just kinda maybe makes sense. It's just like it does tend to generally be, like, a little bit of an older demographic. I hate to
Mhm.
say it, and I'm not trying to point fingers, but you'll see, like, a kid's video, and it's like you see the drop down comments, and it's like a bunch of older guys, and it's like, "Wow, come on," you know? But,
Yeah,
um,
just waking
yeah,
up
but
mad.
waking up mad, bro, it's like I wake up mad a lot, but you just gotta choose to find, like, one
Yeah,
good thing in your day to kinda turn it around so you don't, like, spread that, and it's
yeah,
so easy I feel like it's harder to be in that kinda mindset than just to be happy. It takes no energy at all to just be,
yeah,
like, in a somewhat at least neutral mood, especially when you're bringing that onto someone's, like, fishing comment section,
yeah,
but yeah, dude, I think yeah, I think it's just good for anglers right now, especially because things maybe do seem fragile in certain elements to just uplift everyone. Be critical for sure, like if maybe you see someone maybe not doing something 100% ethical as far as like, because fishing's all about it. Like I've gotten course corrected. I've posted some stuff where I've gotten, very people have gotten very critical and I think initially I was like, "What? This is stupid." But then I kind of like stepped back from it and was like, all right. Yeah, this is a learning experience, but, I think that's
yeah,
important, like a fine line between critical and just a dickhead?
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that self reflection is important, right? And I think
Yeah,
that's not a bad thing. We all have to have those moments where we're like that shapes who you are and that's how you improve. I mean,
right,
majority of anglers kind of go through that too, and it's where it helps having a mentor, somebody that has
right.
been and already have made those mistakes, to kind of help you learn that before you can go and say make those mistakes. But you kind of got to grow through all that stuff, man.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, it's a
just
live and
part
you
of it.
learn type situation, or, you have the mentor like you were saying, or, but the internet like YouTube and Instagram can be a good space for honing in on some of those
Yeah,
learning moments for sure, because
yeah,
people are very, very willing to course correct you, no doubt.
yeah. So the one I wanted to full circle was when we were talking about the prime days of YouTube and content, and there was the group of you guys that really I think took off the side of fishing that was content driven, adventure based, like not very concerned about tournaments. And that's where we seen those years was when the industry really shifted.
Yeah,
And now you see today, it's like I don't think there's a pro angler right now that doesn't have a YouTube channel. When they were like very anti for a little while there of
yeah.
YouTube channels, and Dude, reflecting at do you ever think about that? Like that you were part of that tide that basically has completely reshaped the entire fishing and outdoor industry right now?
Yeah, sometimes. I guess what I think about is like, how the hell am I still doing it? I think I definitely think about it from that perspective more so than anything, opposed to like how I got here. But yeah, I guess it's a crazy feeling because I never really set out to do it to like accomplish anything other than just to continue to like grow what I had going on and then just ultimately have fun. It sounds so cheesy, but like during those heydays, like it was also the most fun. And it wasn't because, we were able to make money to the point where we could go buy our own boats and get our own gear and move out of our parents' house. But like, it was like, I looked forward so much to like ringing up, either Flair or Rob or Perrick, or, Rackley, one rod and being like, hey, free this weekend, and at that point in time some of us were all living in the same state and we'd be like kind of around, so sometimes it'd just be like, especially Parrot, because he would stick around Texas every now and then and be like, dude, let's just go do something today. Yeah, let's go rip it. And it would just be like a lot of fun, and then we get to then post that final product for other people to laugh at, maybe learn something, probably not, but just be fully entertained.
Yeah.
It is a surreal feeling for sure, and a lot of luck involved. Obviously we didn't stop doing it, which was nice. We didn't let anything like kind of in a sense get in our way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is crazy. It definitely is. It is wild. But I think without YouTube and I think without that audience, it would have been impossible. Because like originally as a kid, I wanted to do my own fishing TV show. And oh my gosh! After I learned like later on being in the industry for so long, what that takes just from a monetary perspective, I didn't know
Yeah.
you had to pay to be on a network. I'm like, geez, and the amount of money that you have to pay is crazy, bro. It's nuts. That's why
Yeah.
a lot of those guys have such amazing sponsors. That's because they need it. They really do.
Yeah. Let alone the production and the camera gear
Oh,
and all that stuff. I mean,
forget it. Forget it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
unbelievable.
tough. So
But
tough.
dude, it's cool to see it all come full circle though, because how times have changed. Back then, in the early years of YouTube, it was still uh, you know, put a sticker on the side of a boat or on a jersey, and that's like quote unquote how the sponsorships were done.
Yeah.
Where dude, at ICAST this year, I couldn't tell you some of the conversations I had with some marketing managers where it's just like, yeah, we're pretty sick and tired of people offering just to put our logo on their jersey or on the side of a boat. Like where the
Yeah.
value is all in social media, and it's come full circle in less than 10 years.
I'll tell you what, I mean, uh, you know, that is insane to hear. I haven't been to ICAST in quite some time, but I'll tell you this, that right around that 2017, 2018, we would go up to certain companies and we'd have conversations like you might have had, and
Mhm.
we'd pitch that idea of like social media, and we would get the most insane deadpan looks like, what are you talking about? So it's really refreshing to hear that the tide has turned a little bit. Not even saying this for me. I think a lot of guys are going to benefit from that, and already have been benefiting from
Mhm.
that. And that's one of the reasons why we started our own brand, is because there's literally nobody wanted to touch us. Probably for some good reason. We were very controversial for sure, and I get that, playing devil's advocate, but also at the same time, it was like no one either A saw the value in it, or B was just like, yeah, we're good. We're fine. Like, we got these guys over here, which is totally cool. It's not like we were trying to like bury any of like quote unquote the competition. We were just looking to see if
Yeah.
anyone had any extra budget to throw into something new. So it's
Yeah.
very, I guess what I'm trying to say, it's very refreshing to hear that that was the kind of conversations and talk that you were hearing at ICAST this year, because the fishing industry is, and especially was, so behind the eight ball, really is. And these are all speaking on from an umbrella standpoint, not just one or two companies, like
Yeah.
a lot of guys in general, and a lot of guys that do really good right now, like in the fishing industry, got it probably a little bit early on. And they hit while the iron was hot. So good for them. I think it's good.
Yeah.
You need to
It
pay
was
like, no matter how many subscribers you have any sort of audience, these companies need to be into their best ability. It's fine if you tell someone, a content creator, that they're going to walk or they're going to pass. That's fine. But if you're willing to actually pursue, a certain angler or a certain content creator, these companies have to have to pay them. They have to pay them money. And I still to this day will sometimes talk to these people and I get pitched on like I don't have an agent, like I'm not a big whatever. Like it's just me
Yeah.
and Caleb. But I'll have these emails and these back and forths with some of these people, and it's like the best we can do is like a fillet knife, and it's like, hey, you and I both right now, and people watching too, we've got bills to pay. These trips cost money. Like you would never offer this kind of deal to someone who, like, and it's just so funny to me. But a lot of that has changed, which is nice, and it's what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess in terms of when you go into you're in high school or college, you go to a part-time job and say you work at, Academy or Bass Pro Shops, and they basically offer you, yeah, you can bring a couple jackhammers home. That's your pay. Like it's
Yeah,
that's
but it's a good
not
feeling
gonna
though.
fly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good. But I understand like why a lot of people are like, hell yeah, let's do it. And it's not that I'm immune to taking some free stuff too, but in terms of like turning that product into like actual like work or whatever, it's like nah, it's not gonna. I appreciate it. Maybe we'll post something
Yeah.
here and there, but like as far as you're not gonna get me to go out in a day and grind my wiener off to go sell this for you. It's just not gonna happen. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That's for damn sure. Well, and with that, so a lot of them saying, asking them what their objectives and their priorities are for upcoming years, and
right,
it's so nice to hear content, content, content. And it's nice to even see some of them are ahead of the game where they understand even like followers and subscriber counts. It's a vanity metric. It's all about
yeah.
viewership, reach, engagement, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a whole another conversation. But with that being said, with content being the heavy emphasis right now, and there might not even be an answer to this, but I'm curious, at least from your standpoint, what do you think might be next, if anything,
Man, I
from
think about that a lot. I think about that a lot, man. I mean, as far as like what would be the new social media for fishing, is that what you're
yeah,
saying? Or like what would
yeah,
be the new driver? I don't know, dude. That is a phenomenal question. I mean, I think like I said, I think the fishing industry is still catching up. So I think, I think a lot of these brands are starting to finally realize the value in these content creators, whether you've got
yeah,
100 subscribers or 100,000 subscribers. Everyone's got value as long as you're working at it, as long as you're willing to put your ass in line to try to grow a brand.
mhm,
Um, I really don't know. It's a question I have been thinking about too, Bailey, and
yeah,
I'm unsure of it, but I'm keeping a close watch for sure. I think just to give a more broad answers, I think now more than ever, like the fishing audience is very much desiring genuine stuff. So in other words, like even more so like relatability. And it's one of the reasons why I've tried not to fish off my boat as much. I just got a new boat. I sold my previous boat, just got a new boat, and I had a little bit of buyer's remorse on it. I'm like, damn, dude, I definitely will continue to fish on my boat, but I'm like, there's just something about like as soon as you hop in that big boat, it's like there's quite a few guys and gals who are like, well, that's not me right now. Maybe someday, but that's not me right now. So
yeah,
I think that the biggest thing is just people are going to be looking for consistent like storytelling. I think a lot of people right now just want more storytelling, whether that be on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I'm biased. I think YouTube's the best platform for that, especially long form. And I think
mhm,
people are really, really hungry for just as genuine as you possibly can be, how relatable you possibly can be, um, and just trying to just do as much fun stuff as well. But as far as like a specific entity or like a one broader thing, I don't know. I don't
yeah.
know. We'll run this again in 3 years from now. Maybe I'll have a better answer.
It'll all change.
Yeah, it'll all come to me.
We'll be back to logos on boats and jerseys in 3 years,
Uh,
right?
Nothing against that, but I hope not. I hope not.
Yeah, you and me both. But it is you're true in that point of relatability and genuine stuff where it's like people still love to see cool badass fishing clips, and that still always does well. But it seems like, at least from personal experience, when I show myself doing something like being a dumbass as per usual, when I show more of that,
It's the
that just
best.
seems to do so much better. You
Humility
know?
is the greatest thing ever. It's one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I think, and I'm not. This is not poking at Perrick, aka AP Basson, at all, but he would show his humility so much, like, and he was funny with it, and it was like I miss that he doesn't post videos as really. He still does every now and then, but as much as he used to, because he was like the funniest, most entertaining. and it's like you're getting exactly what he is like in person. So he
Yeah.
was like, I think, the benchmark for like guys who did that in the outdoor space. And he was like Bill Dan's bloopers every day, like that's literally what, Perrick was. So um and not to backtrack, but this did dawn on me. I do think one thing, and I don't know how big it's gonna be, but I do think live is gonna be pretty huge as well. Um
Mm.
I don't know if it's gonna be on Twitch or YouTube, but I think there has to be some way to like incorporate like live streaming with fishing, but it's tough.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'll just leave it at that. I think that I definitely think that's a big one. I think that maybe a next to come type situation.
Yeah. I mean, you see it with uh oh, what's his name? Kai Snap, and then like Speed. Like
Oh
I'm probably
yeah, yeah, yeah,
butchering the
yeah.
name, but those are some of the
Yes.
biggest creators right now, and all they're doing is just going live for hours on it.
Right. And to be transparent, like in the early days of like me filming and like a lot of the guys, like we would base a lot of our content flow and some of our ideas off of the guys on YouTube that were hitting it off. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering who those guys are going to be next to kind of follow like in the outdoor space to take the blueprints that Kai and like um
Yeah.
yeah, I'm kind of
Mr.
like
Beast of the world,
yeah,
like
yes,
it's yeah.
yes, like the guys who are like
Monsters,
strictly doing the
yeah.
live. Yeah, like Aiden Ross, like those dudes. Um but yeah, that's but the toughest thing is it's usually you're in a place with terrible service and you got to be on even keel for I mean however how long that stream's going to be. But there is something there.
Yeah.
There's a doorway there. Someone's going to tap into it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and just fishing's just so unique in regards to, the niche that it's always interesting. Like I've had some, like there's guys out there that do like some business courses in regards to like mentorship of growing your business and then entrepreneurship, and then they deal with guys that are like, yeah, I'm in clothing sales, I'm building a business around selling this product, and I'm like, yeah, I do YouTube and a podcast. They're like, they're like, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't really know how to help you there.
Yeah, and it's such a foreign idea to like I guess outsiders, especially when you throw fishing
Yeah.
as an appendix to that too. Um,
Yeah.
but dude, it's like proofs in the pudding. It's like go look at like these numbers, and it's crazy. I yeah, that's a
Mhm.
surprising thing too. Is like early on, I was like, oh, I didn't realize there was that many people fishing or
Yeah.
interested in fishing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's yeah, that was something I'm still struggle with every now and then. Is trying to be like, what do you do for? It's like just fishing content, just leave it at that, really. I'm not gonna elaborate anymore. And even that's just like, "What?" You know?
Yeah, they're like, "Come again?"
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, dude, we're gonna start wrapping this sucker up here, but I
Sure.
got a couple more left for you,
Yeah.
and
Hit me.
they're kind of like quick hitters. But what location and or species is at the top here? I mean, because you've been to a lot of places and caught a lot of fish nowadays. I mean, I see the GT sitting behind you. That's a badass
Yeah.
plaque. I can't even tell
Thanks,
it's a
man.
poster plaque or what it is, but
Yeah, it's
uh,
a painting by one of my good buddies. Yeah, crushed it.
that is freaking badass. What location or species is at the top of your bucket list now that you haven't done yet?
Loaded question. I've got quite a few. I'll throw a weird one out there. It's at the top. It maybe isn't number one, but I really want to go to China to catch yellow cheek. Um, it's a pretty weird, aggressive uh, game fish. It's kind of like under the radar. They'll eat like big stick baits. You could probably get them on like fast burning glides, but they look like a fit. They look like Big Bird. They look like a. I don't know if you know what a like a Bakuda is or like a
No,
pike
I have to
minnow.
look this up while you're talking about it.
They're really big. They're really big, and despite their look and their shape, they throw down like crazy. They're crazy, weird looking
Oh,
fish.
damn.
If you go on Gong Lei, if you go on his YouTube channel, look up Yellow Cheek, you'll
Okay.
get a chance to see what those fish do to like an angler. So I'd put that one up there. I don't specifically know what river. It might be the Yangtze or tributaries to the
Yeah.
Yangtze, but that would be a really cool one. I don't know anyone who has a lead on that though. That's the only
Oh.
problem. Is sometimes I'll have a fish that I want to catch, and I could find someone on Instagram who can give me some notes or like a basis or foundation. I don't know anyone that
Things
has
to
really done that.
steer away from for
Yeah,
safety.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe for good
Yeah.
reason, but
Yeah. Well, yeah, I see his YouTube. I'll have to watch it after. It looks like a
It's
lake trout
cool.
on steroids, dude. That's what it kinda
Yeah, it's
looks
a
like.
weird looking fish. You should get lost in some of his videos if you're just wanting to see
Yeah.
some crazy topwater eats. The guy's an animal.
Yeah, yeah. I will do that. I'm gonna keep that pulled up. Yeah, you said yellow cheek. I'm like, say what? I've never even
Yeah,
heard of
it's a
that.
weird one. Yeah, it's a weird.
Yeah.
I found out about it like only 5 years ago, so it's up there.
Hell yeah. What do you think in all your travels is the most underrated location to go catch bass specifically?
Oh, underrated to go catch bass, man. Mm, Probably shouldn't say it, but I'd say Maine for sure. Yeah, I didn't even I didn't even know that it was like such a cool fishery up there until I moved up there part time. Yeah, there's some pretty cool stuff up there as far as mostly I'd say smallmouth, but pretty good largemouth too. Numbers wise, it's just crazy. There's a couple of places where there's just never been a big boat put in. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun up there. And although the fishing season is the window is kind of slim, it's like like New York. It's like sometimes the best fishing is when the weather's the foulest, and
Yeah.
it's the deal. So I'd say for sure Maine. Unfortunately, I've been getting a lot of flack for filming up there from locals.
Really? Like locals that are just pissed off about it?
The most flack ever. I've filmed in some, like, stuff I probably shouldn't filmed. Obviously, try not to, like, show too much, or obviously don't ever really name the lake unless it's a massive body of water, but just fishing
Yeah.
up there, kinda existing up there in Maine, whew, whew, some pissed off folks. Yeah, it was a surprise for sure, but catch
That's
and
crazy.
release, go to Maine, catch and release, have fun, visit it, whatever, I don't
Yeah.
care.
Well, dude, that's why I love I'm going up to Champlain this week, and then
Nice.
I'm actually going to stay for like 3 4 days and fish to the Adirondacks. And you talk about places you can't put a boat into. That's why I'm not too worried about name dropping the Adirondacks really too much, because like some of these places I go fish, you got to trudge through half a mile of woods, and it's all state land to get
Yeah.
to these lakes, and they had never seen baits before, and
Yeah,
it's
and in the
it's a hell of
kayak
a lot
too,
of fun.
you open up so much freaking water to that stuff too. I mean, I need to do
Mhm.
more of that because there's some stuff up in Maine that are just completely tree locked.
Yeah,
Yeah, to get to them is rough, but it's usually worth it. I mean, I'm sure you know from your experience too.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's you get Yeah, I mean, I'm preaching to the choir. It's insane views, like quiet as all get out, and like obviously stupid fish, and that's all we want in life is stupid fish.
Yeah,
So it's,
no one next to you playing loud music and stupid fishing. That's it.
yeah, no wake boats, yeah, none of that crap. Yeah,
Hell yeah,
yeah, no houses. It's perfect. But
yeah.
uh, so dude, last question for you. This is what we ask everybody. It's their first time on the show to wrap things up, and that is if you could invite three different individuals to go have a steak and a beer and pick their brain. They could be alive 1,000 years ago. They could be alive now. They don't even have to be in the fishing industry. What three individuals would you invite?
Oh man, that's a good one. I think I do. One would be probably Bob Dylan, although I heard he's not the most congenial individual, but grew up listening to his music. He seems like a cool guy. Bob Dylan would be one of them. I think I would. I think I'd get a kick out of sitting down with, um, like Bill Dance. I think that'd be a good one. Grew up watching him. Obviously,
Heck
it's
yeah.
just from a fishing perspective. Um, and then maybe someone like, Matthew McConaughey. He lives in
Ooh,
Austin, Texas. Seems like a cool guy. Maybe he'd be a good one. Seems like he would have a lot of good, wise knowledge for you. So,
yeah.
be an interesting meal for sure. But that would be
Yeah.
my three guys for sure.
Yeah. Bob, go over there. You just play some music.
Yeah,
Old
yeah.
Bill and Matt, we're going to do some talking over here.
Yeah, and Bill, you could just listen. You don't have to say anything either. But I am going to ask you about some fishing spots after.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, have you listened or read the book Greenlight from McConaughey?
No, I'm not much of a reader. I try to be, but no. Is it any good?
It's really good. Like, if you're looking for some of
Okay.
that, like, McConaughey inspirational, like, life advice type stuff,
Yeah,
I actually did the audiobook, so, like, when I was, like, flying and stuff, I would just
that's what I need to do. I
listen
need
to
to
it.
hit the long road trip and hit the audiobook. I'm gonna put that on
Yeah.
my list. It's called The Green Light?
Yeah, it's written he wrote it and everything. I
Nice.
think Green
Okay,
Light or
cool.
Green Light's one of the 2, either way. It's really damn good,
Cool.
but, yeah. Like, yeah, dude, anything the folks should obviously, they're gonna see it come out on YouTube or social from you, but anything the folks should know coming up on what to
Uh,
watch out for?
Coming up, no, I mean, we're just gonna keep cranking. Obviously sticking with the keep fishing, keep filming, never stop mentality. Bailey, thanks for having me on, dude. Love
Yeah.
what you're doing. Been watching some of your videos recently, and I think what you do and what a lot of other guys do, but you do especially is you do tend to show like who you are and probably in person and through your videos. And I think the industry needs that more now than ever. They need genuine folks who also are good at fishing. You're probably a hell of a lot better at fishing than I am. So if you get
Ah,
those two things down and you keep filming videos, I'm excited to just continue to watch what you're doing. And thanks for having me on. This has been fun. I appreciate it.
yeah. Appreciate it, man. Yeah. Hell of a time. All right, folks, and that is going to do it for today's episode with Mr. John B. Huge shout out to him for taking the time to come on the podcast because the hardest thing is schedule. Schedule is always tough, especially for a guy like that that's always on the move, throwing darts at the board and letting the dart pick where he goes fishing next. You can tell that schedule is going to be difficult, but he made the time to come on here, and I cannot express how appreciative I am of that. And that goes for any guest that we get on this show. But awesome to get on here as John's been one. I've been watching his content, I think, before he even had 10,000 subscribers. So it's pretty cool full circle moment for me. And I'm sure for a lot of folks that are listening to this have been big fans or long time fans of John. But cool to, break behind the curtain a little bit, talk with him on some things in the industry and some things that are of topics of conversation. So really cool stuff. Appreciate you guys as always for tuning in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. And as always, see you on the next one.